is going on, my people? All y'all out there, thank you again for coming to another episode of Bring Your A Game. As always, it's your boy, Austin Snyder. Catch me on Twitter at Austin Snyder90, TikTok at Austin Snyder 509, and on Facebook for the time being at Austin Snyder, as you see on the beautiful screen there. And as always, I am with...
You're with Amar Burton, Amar underscore 206 on Twitter and on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook. And as always, recently we're with.
Hi, what's going on? My name does not start with an A, but I am here anyways. Dylan Holloway. You can find me on Twitter at Dylan Reports, TikTok, Dill's TikTok, and Facebook. Don't add me on Facebook. I won't add you back. No, I'm just kidding. You can look me up there too. So what's going on, guys? How you doing tonight?
Doing good, man. I'm excited. Yeah, it's going to be a good episode. I think we got a lot to cover here in a very short time. So,
do you have ants in your pants?
I do. Absolutely. I'm excited. I'm situated. I'm ready. I'm in the mode here. So before we get started, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that little dingly bell, ding 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 ding. It'll notify you every time a video gets posted. And for those of you that have already done that, we appreciate it so very, very much. So what do we get into tonight, Amar?
Well, yeah, like you said, you should subscribe, all that, because we're pretty good. We're like the podcasting version of Bonds, Clemens, and A-Rod, because we're not in anybody's Hall of Fame and maybe never will be, but we're entertaining. Anyway, so
I love it. It's the best analogy ever.
We're getting off to a good start here. We're having a good time.
It's gonna be a good night. Gonna be a good night.
Yeah.
So there's this football game on Sunday. Super Bowl 55.
Who's playing?
Who's playing?
Who's playing? Who's playing? The some Florida team, and
that's sports games, right? Football.
Yeah.
Football,
yeah.
Just a sidebar.
LeBron James.
About this. Just a sidebar. We talked about this before we went on the air. That is one of my biggest sports pet peeves. When you're hanging out and you're talking to somebody on the phone or texting or whatever, and you're watching a significant sporting event like the NBA Finals or the Super Bowl, and they're like, who's playing? It's like, stop talking to me. Who's playing? That's end of conversation right there. I know I'm being crazy as a sports fan, but right there, it's over. It's done. Unmatch, swipe left, delete, block, reported, whatever you want to say, it's over at that point. Who's playing? Who's playing? Not you anymore, sister. Goodbye.
Well, who's playing this week is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because this is a home game for Tampa Bay, first time ever in Super Bowl history. So who y'all think is going to win? And what do you think the score is going to be?
Kansas City. Oh, go ahead.
I've got Kansas City, the Kansas City Chiefs winning in a fairly close game, 34-30. I think it's going to be high scoring. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is the left tackle, Eric Fisher, towards Achilles. Get well soon, Eric Fisher. But that is going to be a factor in regards to Tampa Bay's pass rush, which could be a big deal, because in order for Tampa Bay to win or keep the game close, they're going to have to steal possessions. They have a good offense, but I think we'd all agree they're not as high powered as the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Up and down the field. So I think they're going to steal possessions, maybe a sack fumble, maybe a tip interception, something like that. So I think that could be a factor, but I still have faith in the Kansas City Chiefs to bring it home 34-30. And I got Patrick Mahomes as the MVP because he's a starting quarterback with a football team. That's usually how it goes.
Pretty much. Who you got, Austin?
Yeah, I got to go Kansas City 2, 31-28 is my prediction for the score. And a lot of it, I just think that Patrick Mahomes is too much to handle. The Tampa Bay has a great defense, absolutely incredible defense. And granted, yes, they are missing their left tackle, but I think Mahomes he's very athletic. And he's just playing some of not just his, but the best football in the history of the game that's ever been played. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where it's hard to see him again, I said it last week. To me, this is very much going to be a passing of the torch kind of situation. Who knows? Maybe Brady retires after this. Maybe he just sees
Brady's
how.
not retiring.
Maybe Mahomes does so well that Brady's like, oh my god, like that. I will never compete with that ever again, So this could open his eyes to Father Time. But I say that jokingly, but yeah, 31-28, Mahomes taking home Super Bowl MVP, much like as Dylan said, he's the quarterback and he is the most talented player on that team. So
Okay. I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay. And that's not because I'm hating on the Chiefs because they beat my Browns in the playoffs.
Hot take.
Yeah. I say Tampa Bay. Go with like 31-27. I think them being at home, although there's not going to be, like a home crowd, I think that is going to factor in. Just being at home is always better to be at home than be somewhere neutral or be on the road. So that'll factor in. I mean, Tom Brady's going to do his thing. Like I talked about last week, I don't think Carlton Davis is going to get burned as badly by Tyreek Hill as he was when they first played, because you probably can't get burned any worse than that. So I think Tampa's Bay is going to make a few more defensive plays that have to be made at the right times. Brady's going to do his thing, come up clutch, and close win for the Bucks. That's my pick.
How many times this past week do you think he's watched the tape of him getting absolutely torched by Tyreek Hill?
Oh, he's probably never watched that tape again. I mean, I'm sure that,
he
the
probably
team
puts it on repeat and then goes to sleep with it in as he can.
I'm not
hear
saying
people...
for fun, but I'm sure the coaches don't want it to happen again. You can't just ignore that it happened.
Oh, no.
You have to watch
I was going to say, they're probably playing it and he's just looking down. He's just like, I'm not watching this again. I'm not paying attention to this again. Like, I know what I got to do. Just, don't get torched. Like,
but that's a lot easier said than done against Tyreek Hill. I mean, the guy is an absolute freak.
But like I said, the tackle issue, it could affect Kansas City's ability to set up those big plays down the field. I'm not saying they're going to get shut down or anything like that.
Honestly,
I think it will affect the long passes.
I see Travis Kelce really feasting in this game, probably more so than Tyreek Hill, specifically because of that. And that's where Kansas City's offense is so dynamic, and it's so hard to bet against them because either, they can set up those huge passing plays, and Tyreek Hill can torch you for 300 yards in a game or whatever. And when they don't have that dynamic, well, then you're just dumping it to one of the greatest tight ends to ever play the game at this point in his career, even coming off one of his absolute best seasons in a second Super Bowl where he's already been, where I'm going with this with, the best quarterback in the NFL right now. So the guy's just absolutely incredibly gifted. So they can hit you underneath and they could just dump it off to him for huge chunk plays and he can run after the catch a bit. He's got some of that ability. So I absolutely expect to see their tight end just feast, if over 100 yards for sure.
And I don't see Tom Brady retiring after this game, like win or lose. I think if they win, he's going to be like, oh, I can still do this. I'm still elite. He's going to want to come back for that second year on his contract where he's going to make $25 million. And if they lose, I think he's like, you know what? We got close. It was my first year with this team. Like, we almost won it all. Like, I'm gonna come back and take another crack at it.
I'm just saying, man, we're all bound to have that moment where we're like, oh fuck, man, I'm old. Like this was the thing that flashed before my eyes that happened that made me realize that like I am far older than I think I am. And so,
it'll depend how he plays. If they lose solely because of Tom Brady, I could see maybe him thinking about it. Like if he goes out there and throws for 127 yards and 4 picks and just is trash all of a sudden, maybe he'll be like, man, I need to hang it up. I really let the team down kind of thing. But I don't think that's going to happen. If he goes out there and is competitive, like when they lost to the Eagles, would he throw for like the record amount of yards in a playoff or Super Bowl game?
Right.
And they lost, I don't think he was thinking, man, I've really lost a step. He's probably thinking, man, I wish the defense could have gotten a stop or two. But or I wish I hadn't fumbled at the end there.
And even if he plays terribly, I mean, he's not going to want to go out like that. The kind of career he's had to go out like on a terrible game. Like I can see him going out on a loss, but like you said, it would be, kind of like that Eagles game. Like, he plays well, team loses, And this isn't this season. This is like next season or maybe the year after that. And then he's
without a
like,
doubt.
okay, all right, like I'm 45, like, it's time to go. But this year, it's not going to be the year, I don't think. Um, One quarterback that does have a pretty long future we're anticipating ahead of him is Deshaun Watson. Currently of the Houston Texans. We don't know for how long, though, because he wants to be traded. He wants out of there. They had a terrible season with just all kinds of front office and coaching, just effery. And, he wants out. So where do you, not where do you think he's going to land, but where would you want to see Deshaun Watson play next season?
So I gotta say, personally, I'd like to see him in Miami. You know, I think Miami's got a lot of really exciting pieces. Even when it was Fitzmagic in there doing his thing, he did a great job. But just in general, the running game, the defense, it all started to click. They had was it Xavier Howard that had 10 interceptions this season. They started kind of finding themselves in the way of being an exciting team again, and I think that the Dolphins have the right assets for it. A couple first rounders this year and a couple first rounders next year. Throw in Tua Tagovailoa, and now you've got yourself a Deshaun Watson.
Where
It
do you see
sounds like a lot, but I mean that he could. You're winning 10 games or whatever with Tua and Fitzmagic playing a starter closer kind of role. Imagine what a dynamic, elite 25-year-old franchise quarterback could do for that team.
now? What does Tua do in Houston then in that scenario?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still the guy's young, it's tough. It's very tough because he did not show a lot, obviously, in his rookie year, but he's young. He's like what, 23 years old or whatever. He still has plenty of opportunity to grow, and look, you've got new leadership, right? Which personally, I think it was a terrible hire, but hey, you're rocking with it. You're going with it, right? So you've got new leadership. Bring in a new guy that's young, sophomore year, barely, because he didn't even get to play a whole lot. He had major leash put on him down there in Miami, with Fitzpatrick being in the wings at all times, breathing down his neck. So yeah, you pick up a couple first rounders, add in the one that you already have, call it 3 first rounders. That's more than enough opportunity to, kind of put some pieces, 1 or 2 pieces around him, that should pan out to be elite, right? Because I want to say one of those drafts pick, if the Dolphins in this scenario did that, one of those draft picks, it would be what, like the 4th rounder or whatever. Um, anyways, so anyway, you pick up a couple first rounders, and then you'll have a couple extra first rounders the following year. Actually, I think Houston would just get their draft pick back, wouldn't they? Yeah, because they
Sure.
traded for Laramie Tunsil or whatever
Mhm.
that guy's name is. Yeah. So yeah, they would get a first rounder back, have an additional first rounder, so get their 4th back, have an additional first rounder. So yeah, you can put some dynamic pieces around him and allow Tua to grow. And
Mhm.
who knows, maybe you have another really crappy year. Maybe you win. Maybe you get the first overall pick the following year, and then at that point, you make the decision: do I get another quarterback, or has Tua showed me enough to move on? So either way, I think it's an absolute win-win in that situation.
Okay. Dylan, where would you want to see Deshaun Watson play next season?
You really think they're going to give up on Tua after just 1 year, though? And he didn't get a full season at all. Like they already did this with Josh Rosen. It's just going to be like the quarterback revolving door
Dude,
in
that
Miami.
is how the league is. That's what the league has come to at this point. I mean, if you're not coming in and you're not producing right away, especially on a
The
team that was
rookie
already,
quarterback, though,
they were
people are
literally
way too
winning
impatient.
games when he got pulled.
People are
when
way
when
too impatient
Fitzpatrick
with
got
rookie
pulled. So
quarterbacks now.
they're winning games, and then they pull Fitzpatrick to put in this guy that's supposed to be a dynamic quarterback and pro ready quarterback who just had an injury issue, and all this, and he can't even throw for 100 yards in a game. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Look, like I said, he's young. I get that he has a chance to grow, but it's at this point, especially for guys like us that study this game as much as we do. come on, man. Like, you know when a guy has it, when a guy doesn't. And as of right now, the game is like flying past him. Looks way
No,
too
I,
quick
I
for
think
him.
I think you give Tua at least 16 games starting before you go, oh well, time to get rid of him. But a guy who has had
If
a
you miss out
chance,
an
a guy who
opportunity to get
has had a
Watson,
chance, a
and
guy who
just
has had
because
a
you want to give
chance.
Tua 16 games, that's a terrible option.
Well, you're talking multiple first round picks and everything, like all the draft capital they built up just so you could get Deshaun Watson. I mean,
Look
yeah,
what
I
they were
disagree.
able to do with the
But
team. So you take this same team and you add Deshaun Watson. I mean, what are they going to pick up in the first round of the
you're not
draft
just
that they can
adding Deshaun
replace with
Watson. You have to give up something to get Deshaun. You're
You're
just
getting you. So
plucking
again, in this
Deshaun Watson
scenario,
like a
you're
Madden
getting rid
trade.
of Tua and you're getting rid of 4 first-round picks because that's what it's
4
going to
first
take.
round picks?
Yes, that's what Goff went for 2 or 3.
Outrageous.
He went for 3 picks in total. So yes, Watson
4 first
absolutely
rounders
is worth
to swap
or
quarterbacks.
Stafford, I mean. And he is. That is the market for Deshaun Watson right now. Everybody has stated as such. That is what it's going to take. So you give up Tua, 4 first-round picks, and now you have a 10-win team. Add Deshaun Watson. You act like they have to give up their best offensive lineman, best receiver, best defensive player, and Tua to do it. You take the same 10-win team, add Deshaun Watson. They're absolutely in the playoffs.
They might have to. You heard what the Packers wanted for Aaron Rodgers, so they might have to give up a lot of pieces. But anyways, my pick.
Well, I think, just real quick, Dylan, I think you're right that I agree with you that it's too early to give up on Tua, but that is how the league is now. And I think, it's just there's so much at stake. And if Miami feels like they're kind of in this, like, we can win now, or at least we can win very soon scenario, and someone like Watson's available, then yeah, that'd be kind of the rare instance where you would give up on a top 5 pick after 1 year because he didn't. I mean, he had.
Is Miami like a Deshaun Watson away from a Super Bowl contention, though? I don't think
they very well could be, dude. They played some very, very good games with defense, running the football. They've got some playmakers on that offense, man. They just don't have a quarterback.
Anyways, the team that I think Deshaun Watson should go to, that I hope he goes to, that has a quarterback that has gotten enough of a shot. He's been hurt, but I think you've seen enough of him. Sam Darnold, the New York Football Jets. I want to see Deshaun Watson in the big city. Dabo Swinney said when Deshaun Watson got drafted, this is the Michael Jordan of football. I want to see the Michael Jordan of football in the biggest media market in the National Football League. I want to see the Jets as a team you want to watch again, a reason to tune in to the New York Football Jets. No longer the laughing stuff. You have a Deshaun Watson. The Jets have some talent on defense. And they got rid of Adam Gase, which I think a lot of people would agree. He was kind of holding the team back, especially on the offense. It didn't seem to be going well. You get Deshaun Watson in there. The Jets will be exciting to watch again. Not a Super Bowl contender right away, but I think they will be fun to watch with Deshaun Watson in green with the Jet on his helmet.
I actually want him to stay with Houston. And usually I'm all about player empowerment. I think guys should do.
Dude hates Deshaun Watson, man.
I really don't. I like him, but like,
I hope they rehire Bill O'Brien.
Right?
Like I'm all about player empowerment. I think guys should do whatever they feel like they need to do to, make themselves happy with their career. But that's when you're a free agent. And he just signed a deal like last September, like a few months ago, just signed a massive 4-year, $177 million deal. Not saying that, you just got to ride it out with a crappy team, but it's only the second year of it, and yeah, you had a really bad year and this isn't, what you signed up for. This isn't the coach you signed up for. It's not the front office you signed up for. I get all that, but I just feel like you got to stick that out for at least another year and just see. I don't think players always need to be loyal to the franchise, but they picked you as like the franchise guy. Like you're the face of the franchise, you're the face of the city, in a lot of ways. And just to kind of, if you want to leave, then request a trade, fine. If they don't trade you, I hope he doesn't kind of pull what people accuse James Harden of pulling and like showing up out of shape and like, not giving effort to kind of force a trade.
Scorched the whole thing.
Yeah, like I hope he doesn't do anything like that. No problem with him just saying, "Hey, I'd like to be traded," but I just think give it one more year, see if things go up. That's why they signed you, was you're the guy to kind of carry this, and so I just say, I'd like to see him stay in Houston for a little bit longer, and if things continue to just be horrible, then okay, get out of there. But no one wants to see him play for the Seahawks. Weird.
Bro, they're just a quarterback away.
Yeah, just a quarterback away.
Just have Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson, bro. Come on, swap them out.
Why not have
in
Deshaun
between
Watson
series and
backing
drives?
up Russell Wilson to learn from him?
Well, I'll just say this: I've never heard anything about Deshaun Watson not being focused because of his R&B superstar wife. So that's
true.
Yeah,
that's very true.
Speaking of the backing up, Austin's making a joke that we were talking about before when Stafford, before he got traded, someone was like, what team was it? I can't remember, but they were like, just have Stafford go and be the backup, bro. Let him learn. Was it the Buccaneers? Yeah, they're like, let him learn under Tom Brady. I'm like, he's not in his second year. Like,
Jay Glazer said, yeah, have Stafford just go back. That was his hot take, that Stafford was going to go to the Bucs and back up Brady to take over the helm after Brady retired.
Here's how you throw an out route, kid. Yeah, thanks, Tom. Yeah.
I think, was that supposed to be the Jameis Winston story, though? Like, go to New Orleans and learn behind Drew Brees and then become a starter again? Like, the year after you
and then every opportunity they got to put him in, they just put Taysom Hill in.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, Drew Brees is hurt? Come on over. No, not you, Jameis. Taysom, quit kicking field goals and get over here.
All right, so I'm going to shift away from the NFL for a little bit. NBA season's underway, and we know a lot of people aren't talking about it as much because football's still going, and it's kind of a weird season with no fans and all that. But wondering, what are some kind of like under the radar NBA stories or players or teams that you think people aren't talking about that they should be talking about, or this stuff kind of stood out to you this year? So, Austin, what do you got?
So for me, the big NBA story that I think has really stood out to me, just because it's one of my favorite stats and one of my favorite awards in the NBA, is Miles Turner and the absolute neighborhood block party that he is putting on this season. I mean, the guy is on a tear right now. If the season, granted, I know the season still has time left to go, but if the season ended today, he would be the league leader in the history of average block shots a game at 3.9, which is absolutely insane. The guy had a stretch where, let me find my numbers here. I want to say he had 70 blocks or 71 blocks in like 20 games. I mean, the dude he's been on a tear. He's been a freak. And the problem is that he plays for the Pacers, and nobody cares about the Pacers. So it's not being talked about enough, and it's not being given enough love. This is a dude who absolutely is going to swoop in and take that defensive player award away from Giannis, who, very much is in the talks again this year for all of those major awards. But Miles Turner, yeah, I mean, hats off, man. That guy has just been an absolute brick wall when it comes to defending the rim. So
what is the Pacers record? Are they above 500?
If I remember correctly,
I just wonder, has there ever been like a defensive player of the year on a team that didn't make the playoffs in the NBA?
Well, their Pacers are 12-9, so
That's
they are over 500. I don't know, defensive player of the year. I would think that's one of those awards where it's like, your team. I think your team success plays a big role in it, because it's like, okay, if you aren't impacting the defense enough to help your team win a lot, then are you really up for that award? So,
right.
I'd be
weird though, because NFL is different. Because I know in NFL they've had defensive player of the year on teams that had 2 wins. Like
right,
Cortez Kennedy,
where the defensive player just had such a
Kennedy
ridiculous
won,
year.
Yeah, he had defensive player of the year in 92 with the Seahawks, and they had 2. They were 2-14.
See,
Yeah.
and I
what I
would
mean?
think that even if the Pacers did fall short of the playoffs, like I said, with the type of season that he's having, like you would have to, dude. The guy is literally like averaging more blocks than anybody else in the history of the league. You know, the Serge Ibakas, the Mark Eatons, you know what I mean? Some of the biggest name shot blockers in the history of the league, and this guy is ousting
When
all
did
of
they
them. And
start
it's not,
recording blocks? Was it like
um,
70s?
yeah.
After Bill Russell. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
after
well,
Bill
we
Yeah.
Russell
all
and
know
Wilt,
Bill
Wilt,
Russell
Yeah.
has
right?
blown those numbers apart.
Because
The
Yeah.
saw
the
like
Marcus
I saw like an
Camby's.
adjustment for like a Wilt Chamberlain's like
See, and that's one thing I
his
never
like
got. Why
54
don't they
point
go back and rewatch
such and
that? I
such.
mean, they
Mhm.
I wonder
rewatched
why
the
they
film anyways.
sacks, dude.
Because
Like Deacon Jones.
I
Yeah.
thought did they go back and record sacks or not? Oh no, because Deacon Jones would have been
Yeah,
number
because he
one,
would have had
right?
like another 100.
Because
is
I'd
what
always
he
Yeah.
watch
said.
those like NFL top 10 shows and they'd be like the
Mhm.
greatest pass rusher ever, Deacon Jones. And like, but we don't know how many sacks he had. It's so
Right.
anticlimactic. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they
Like,
just go
we
back,
think he
watch
was
him and
pretty
record it.
good.
Right.
It's like,
That's
yeah,
what I'm
that's
saying.
cool
So
and
why don't they
everything,
go
but
back, watch the film that they can, and record those stats? It makes
I
no
will
sense.
take that job. If I could go
Absolutely,
back and watch like
100%.
1960s NFL film,
Yeah, just
like
spend
just
10
sit there
hours a
like
day
with the
doing
pen and
that.
the paper and like, oh, there was
Yep.
another one, you know.
There was, yep,
Like,
just
that
rewind.
would be awesome.
Got it again. Yeah,
Watch
I'd
Will
be down.
Chamberlain's 1962 season.
Yep,
Like,
done.
well, he had 47 blocks against the Knicks.
Right?
None of them goaltending because that rule didn't exist. No, so my NBA under the radar story that I am paying attention to is the Golden State Warriors, which sounds crazy to talk about the Golden State Warriors being under the radar with how dominant they have been the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. But there's no longer a Kevin Durant there. Klay Thompson is out for the year again. They got a bunch of fresh new faces like James Wiseman, the rookie center out of Memphis. Draymond Green's back, but Steph Curry is really putting this team on his back right now. He's scoring over 28 points per game, over 6 assists a game, and they are scratching and clawing to remain above 500. And I think if they make the playoffs, even if they're a lower seed, like a 6, 7, 8 seed in the West, I think Steph Curry's got to be in the running for MVP if he's scoring almost 30 points a game. Because really, what other superstar do they have on that team right now? And it will really be kind of like the Steph Curry season, him doing it almost, by himself in terms of superstars on the team, because a lot of people said like, oh, the reason they're so dominant is because they got Kevin Durant and they got Klay Thompson and they got this and they got that and the other thing. But
That's
Steph
one
Curry,
thing that's always been odd to me is why do like that's one player that everybody. So I would say LeBron James is the most criticized and hated player ever in the history of sports. But Steph Curry has got to be the one player that everybody loves for the most part, but they will find every excuse possible as to why he's not like greatness embodied. You know what I mean? Like this is a guy who has had some of the most incredible, greatest individual seasons ever in the history of the league. And there are people still questioning, like, well, I don't know if he's the guy, 2-time and only unanimous MVP in the entire history of the league. But I'm not quite sure he's proved himself.
I think that's why though, because he's had so much success, like the unanimous MVP, and I think that really like grinds some fans' gears. They're like, of all the people to be unanimous MVP, Steph Curry, and so like, but before they were a championship team, a lot of people loved Steph Curry and the Warriors. They're the up and coming team, but then it's like when you're a dominant team, you're a dominant force, just like the New England Patriots. You get so many more haters. You get the target on your back, and some people really like they love watching greatness, like they love seeing the Michael Jordans and LeBron James and like being witness to greatness, but some other people just cannot wait to see those teams.
Yeah,
those
only in
teams
small
fail,
doses.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they cannot wait. Like ever since LeBron James became the best player in the world, people cannot wait for James to fall down. They cannot wait to throw it in his face, like, oh, Michael Jordan would never. And for everything, right? Like, what he like, he opened a school, and there's people like, well, Michael Jordan will open 6 schools, brother.
Dude, I had a buddy that texted me after that
Ridiculous.
happened, and he's like, well, it's a public school, so he's not even really paying for it. I swear to God, dude. I was like, what does it even matter? Like, but he's still donating like millions of dollars a year to it. Yeah, but he doesn't really own it. He's just
These
putting
athletes
money.
live rent free in these normal people's minds, and not
Mhm.
even like, oh man, like I get like rooting against people, like you want to see Tom Brady lose kind of thing, but like taking it personal. There's people who like act like they personally know LeBron James and they really want
yeah.
to see him fail in life,
Right.
like as if he stole their girl or something,
I'm
dude.
telling you.
Like,
It's like the thing, like, the kind of people, like, they can't even talk about the players they like without bringing up the players they hate, right? I think, Austin, you showed me something where somebody talked about, like, if Michael Jordan came back to the league today at,
Yeah.
what is he, 50 something years old? And someone was like,
yeah.
well, I bet LeBron would be salty. I'm like, why would
Right.
LeBron be salty about 50 something year old Michael Jordan coming back to the Hornets? like
Well,
that's
why,
gonna,
why would he
like,
care about that? in
like
any
that's
way,
going to be
shape,
like
or
a
form?
threat to him or something, or
Right.
like people who maybe they're like a Kevin Durant fan, but like every time they talk about him, it's like a comparison to LeBron. It's just like, okay, if I get you don't like the guy or whatever, you think he's overrated or whatever, but the fact that you're thinking about him so much and like you can't even talk about your favorite player without talking about him, one tells me how close you think they are, or but like if you can't talk about Jordan without talking about LeBron, you must think they're on the same level.
Yeah, they're either one or two in your mind. One
Yeah.
and two or whatever.
Yeah, and because it's not like when you talk about Jordan, you always talk about Russell or Kobe or Kareem or
Right.
someone like that. Like, yeah, if it's always Jordan, LeBron, then to you they must be 1 and 2. Or LeBron must be up there. But anyway, my
Top
kinda,
30 for sure, bro. Top 30 for
Right.
sure.
At
I'd say,
least-
I
at
mean,
least top
yeah,
50.
top 35 maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's like, yeah. I say my kind of under the radar NBA story would be the Philadelphia 76ers. They got the best record in the East, led by first year head coach Doc Rivers, who took a lot of crap for what happened to him at the end of his run with the Clippers. But look at Doc, number one in the
Dude,
East right
this
now.
guy
Like,
has done an amazing job with Joel Embiid and Ben
Mhm.
Simmons.
Yeah.
Holy crap, has he figured it out, man.
By the end of last season, I mean, the Sixers, I mean, they went out like in the first round of the playoffs,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the story was, Embiid and Simmons can't get along. They can't play together.
It's gonna have to be one or the other.
Yeah, one's gonna have to get traded. I feel like they were just kind of written off, like, okay, they had their window and they blew it and it's over. And then especially when the Nets put together their team, and the Bucks got better, and Toronto's still there, and Miami went to the finals, and so the Sixers kind of got left out of that group of like elite contenders going into the season. And then we look up now and they're tops in the conference, and Embiid's playing like an MVP candidate. I mean, he's averaging like 28 and 11. He's not missing a ton of games. Like, he's been on the court, which is for him, I mean, that's a win. Ben Simmons, I mean, I think he is what he is at this point, and so many people like get on him for the shooting and not shooting threes, and I'm just like, he's not a shooter. That's just he's like Rajon Rondo. Like, he's probably never going to be that. But he's averaging like 13, 8, and 8. He doesn't need to score a ton, but he's one of the best passer playmakers in the league, and
that's strong.
And a
great
6
two-way player.
Yeah, he's a really good defensive player. He's a 6'10" point guard. Like, one of those guys. I think people should appreciate what he does and stop focusing so much on what he doesn't do. They've also got Tobias Harris. He's turned into like a legit second scorer, because he's their averaging 20 a game, but like he's a legit like third guy, like third star.
Tobias Harris and Gary Harris are two of the most underrated scorers in the NBA. I just want you guys to know that.
The East is like low key pretty competitive now, right? Like,
right. Oh yeah.
And like
absolutely.
normally it's like really top heavy. Like, you have like two teams that are really good and the rest is like, like the Orlando Magic are somehow in the playoffs like 5 times in a row. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's 5 through 8 or whatever. Like, but you got the Bucks, like you said, the 76ers, the Heat just went to the finals. The Nets are obviously competitive, with they got the trio there. So the East is looking pretty good. It's normally the West is the power conference, but
Yeah, no, the East has definitely stepped up big time. There seems to be, and it's funny, like it all kind of started about 2-3 years ago, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Something happened
Weird.
about 2018 or
That's odd.
so. Yeah.
I wonder why that's
Yeah. Oh, Boston. They're in it. Didn't
Yep,
mention them.
yep,
They're a good team.
yeah.
And then I mean, Charlotte. If Michael
are you
Jordan
guys doing
comes
the
back,
LeBron thing right
And
now that we just
it would
talked
almost
about?
seem like
Are you guys
there's
doing
maybe
the thing right now that we
one
just
or
made
two
fun of?
good teams in the West, and then
Well,
everybody else is just
LeBron
not
went
as
to the
good.
Lakers, which allowed the Nets to sign people. LeBron would have nixed the signings
Well,
before
yeah.
that.
Because he impacts like what other teams do too. It's like,
LeBron's
Yeah.
secretly the NBA commissioner now.
Well, I mean, if I was the Nets, I definitely wouldn't be making those kind of moves when a player like LeBron is in my.
We want to
conference
wait to
going
be
the
good
finals
once
anyways.
LeBron's
Yeah.
gone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's also the head of officiating. I'm not sure if you knew that.
Yeah.
A
No,
lot
of
of people
course.
don't know. Yeah, he's also
Anyways,
but yeah. Oh, also forgot to mention the Hornets are going to be pretty good when Michael Jordan comes back. 'Cause,
Bro,
That's
LeBron is on notice. All right.
I mean, from everything I've heard, I mean, Jordan could average 40 in the league today. Just even at his age, because this league is just so soft, and I mean, he's going to kill it. So yeah.
How annoying would either way? How annoying would like Twitter and Facebook be if Michael Jordan did come back and just started dropping 50 every game? The people who hate on LeBron and today's league would be unbearable. We'd all have to just delete our social media accounts.
We
at that point.
go, dude.
Like if Jordan came and just started crushing it, right? Like at 57 years old.
And that first Lakers Hornets game would be like, man, like the most watched game in NBA history.
Or even worse, Jordan comes back and it is against the Lakers, and he goes up, or he goes to defend LeBron one time in the paint, just fucking shatters a hip, just gone.
That'd be one of those
Goes
like
to take the charge.
no, that'd be one of those like he wasn't wearing the right shoes.
Yeah, blows every tendon out of his lower half.
Jordan's gonna watch this now and take it personal. Yeah.
Michael Jordan, I hope I'm your fuel to go back, please, at
And
57 years old, go back into the NBA.
Just what's it like this one? Is that what he did?
Yeah.
Like this. Yeah, that one. He's like, and I took that personal.
Yeah. Or he's gonna never talk to us like he did Sports Illustrated.
Right.
Yeah, because before we were totally going to have Jordan on the show.
We had a shot.
I mean, it was gonna happen. I mean, we hadn't done anything to offend him, so we were technically eligible. But now,
thanks, Austin. Now
we were
Jordan's never going to do the show.
Why?
I mean, man, first you made Kevin Durant hate the show, and now Jordan's gonna hate the show.
I know he still has yet to subscribe or comment, and I'm surprised by both of those things.
All right, moving on. All right, so back to football. Super Bowl 55 coming up this week. We go back into the Wayback Machine and go into something that I'm going to tell my kids about someday. Super Bowl 25, 30 years ago in 1991. One of the first Super Bowls I remember watching, still one of the best Super Bowls I think they've ever had. If you don't remember, or you weren't there in the first place, New York Giants beat the Buffalo Bills 20-19. And it's weird, like as good as the game was, it's like still one of the top two takeaways for a lot of people was the national anthem. And not because of a protest or because of anyone's areola, but because Whitney Houston just killed it. Like, even though it was like a pre-recorded tape, but still she killed it. One of the greatest singers of all time. She was singing it during a time when the country was at war. Just, everything kind of came together for this like iconic national anthem performance. But aside from that, the game was great. One of like a classic clash of styles. The New York Giants were like the ball control, like run game. Defense was led by Lawrence Taylor, defensive coordinator Bill Belichick, and head coach Bill Parcells. The Bills had that no huddle K-gun offense, like really like a revolutionary offense for the time, really high scoring. So you had the 4 Hall of Famers on offense for them, like Jim Kelly at quarterback, Thurman Thomas at running back, Andre Reed, James Lofton at receiver. They also had Bruce Smith on defense, so another Hall of Famer there. But you've got this like, kind of the, unstoppable offense and the immovable defense, like that kind of, that kind of matchup. Giants go into the game led at quarterback by Jeff Hostetler. He's like the Nick Foles before Nick Foles. Their starter, Phil Simms, got hurt late in the season. Hostetler takes over, leads them to the Super Bowl. And actually in the game, turns out Hostetler statistically outperformed Jim Kelly across the board, like completions, yards, touchdowns, QB rating. So like the backup came in. It's like Nick Foles coming in and like outplaying, Tom Brady, which didn't really happen, but Nick Foles did get the win. So anyway, to the game itself, really close game, back and forth, 2 lead changes in the fourth quarter. Comes down to the Giants up 20-19 in the final 10 seconds. The Bills got the ball. Scott Norwood takes a 47-yard field goal for the win. Of course, he misses it. Everyone's seen that highlight. When I tell my kids about this, I can be like, when your grandpa is over there complaining about how, like, that's why kickers shouldn't exist, and that's why we need to remove kickers from the NFL. That's what he's talking about. I think that was probably where that was born for grandpa. Anyway, so MVP of that game, Giants running back Otis Anderson, 102 yards and a touchdown. However, Thurman Thomas for the Bills, he had 190 total yards in a TD. He actually got some consideration for Super Bowl MVP, even though his team lost, which is, I think that's only happened one time. And yeah, just overall, like, really good game. Still one of the most memorable Super Bowls, I think. You're always going to see it on, the NFL films and all the, highlight shows and everything. And yeah, so, 30th anniversary of that this year, and something that I'm always going to remember, and, something I'll pass on when I'm telling my boys about football. So from that.
On that note, on that game, Amar, I feel like the Scott Norwood thing, like he just became like the absolute scapegoat.
Oh yeah,
for them losing that game.
Yeah,
like, and to the point of like, it's just, I feel bad for the guy. Like a 47-yard field goal outside is no gimme.
That's not.
Yeah, and he missed it by like this much.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And they're like, that's why they lost. And then not only that's why they lost, but like people have blamed the 3 consecutive losses after that on Norwood for cursing the team. Even.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he's the reason they got blown out by the Cowboys 2 Super Bowls later. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's
Buddy, we're
like,
watching kickers miss 30-yard extra points. You know what I mean?
know.
So like, yeah, I mean, you can't put that. And I hate that. I hate people that put the loss of a game on one single play.
It's annoying.
Like on what? Like it was only because of that kick. If he would have, if he would have made the kick, absolutely they would have won. But guess what? Just like with the loss, with the win, it was also because of the touchdowns before that and the defensive effort before that. And just like with the loss, just like with the Seahawks, that's one thing that if they would have just ran it with Marshawn Lynch, how about if the defense wouldn't have given up a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter? How about then? Oh, yeah, they would have definitely won the Super Bowl then, but nobody wants to talk about that because that's not the juicy scoop.
I'll bring this up. I'll bring this up, Austin, and I'll, sorry to, hit an old wound, but like when the Seahawks lost to the Steelers in the Super Bowl and everyone blames that on the refs, do you think that that's valid, or is it like they only scored 10 points?
The Super Bowl XL was lost because of Jeremy Stevens,
right?
Josh Brown, and whether you think the calls were correct or not, you could say Seahawks penalties. I'll just say Seahawks penalties. The argument of whether they were valid or not is for another story. But those to me are the three reasons why they lost Super Bowl XL.
Yeah.
But you don't think it's right to just say it's one, like it was just the refs? Like, we would have wanted.
I don't know, man. That's probably like, and that maybe it is because I'm a biased Seahawks fan, whatever. Like, that's probably one of the games that I've watched that I very legit. I'm like that, like maybe not solely, but very heavily because of that. Ben Roethlisberger did not score that rushing.
It affected the game for sure.
100% affected the game.
Unless you have a play that's like where it's like they clearly score a touchdown and the ref waves it off for whatever reason, you can't blame an entire loss on just referees.
Right.
They completely had their momentum hijacked throughout the game, though.
Yeah.
Which, as we just said, it's it doesn't come down to one play. So if you're constantly, every time you're like starting to get some momentum against a really tough team like Pittsburgh. Yeah. So
every big play, Ben Roethlisberger, I think it was on like a 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1 or whatever, like lands short. I'm pretty sure it's a 4th and 1, lands short of the goal line, and then like moves his head into the end zone, and then they review it, and it's clear he didn't cross the goal line, and it's a touchdown. You know what I mean? Deion Jackson is being pulled. Daryl Jackson pulls his arm off of a defender as he's being pulled to catch a touchdown.
The worst one, a lot of them were like iffy. The worst one was the holding call where the guy was like the Steeler. I can't remember which Steeler it was. He was clearly offsides. Yeah. And like the Seahawks lineman, Sean Locklear, like held him to keep him from sacking him. And they called holding on Sean, but not offsides on the other guy.
And they called a chop block on
Hasselbeck threw a pass to the 1 yard line, which they could have punched in with Sean Alexander, who, if I remember correctly, scored a lot of touchdowns. That to me was the most egregious call. And the referee, Bill Levy, this bad one, I know the referee's name from a game from like years ago. He said, like, I really messed up that call. He went to Seahawks training camp like 3 years later and was like, sorry, guys. For what it's worth, everybody. Yeah. I screwed up.
That's on me. Like literally left dipped out the next day, dude, hopped on a plane, went to Hawaii and just turned his phone off because he was like, I screwed up so bad. And so, and the other one to me, Dylan, is the chop block penalty that they called on Matt Hasselbeck, who is literally just trying to make a touchdown on an interception that was thrown.
Or a tackle, yeah.
Like going for a tackle.
They called clipping. Clipping on it.
Yo, that's right, clipping. They called him for clipping because he was trying to tackle the guy who. I mean, it's just that's bad, dude. It was very, very egregious. So it plays, and I'm not a guy who plays, it's always the refs. I don't do that. But in that instance, it very much could have changed the outcome of that game heavily.
If you have a Seahawks fan in your life and you want to get them going, bring up that Super Bowl. It's funny. Okay. And I mean, I don't want to age everybody in here, but did you guys see Super Bowl 25? Do you remember that? Or is that just something you just kind of remember from like film?
I didn't watch it live. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to say the first Super Bowl that I remember like genuinely being excited and watching was John Elway's last Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. That was the Atlanta one, or was that Green Bay?
Yeah,
Atlanta.
Okay. Atlanta. Yeah, it was. What is that? That was only just a few years after 25.
That was 98 or 99. I think.
30.
I don't remember.
Super Bowl 31 or something like that.
Maybe, I don't know. I can't count. Yeah. I mean, because I was very young for Super Bowl 25. So it's like I watched it. I remember seeing it live, but I wasn't old enough to like really understand everything that was going on, So that'd be one I'd like to actually go back and like watch again and just kind of see it unfold, like, now that I
wanted to do that too.
A lot more.
Games
where
I was more emotional than like intelligent while watching it,
Right.
I want to go back and be like, wait a minute, but except for Super Bowl XL, I'm never watching that.
No.
That's still my favorite.
I have put myself through that misery again, and like I'm not wrong, dude. That absolutely.
I'm not wrong.
I'm not, dude. Yeah. Like they really screwed the.
Spoken like a true Seahawks fan. I'm not wrong.
I think the very first Super Bowl I remember was that Niners Bengals one, and this was like I remember it happening, and it
Back
was
when Joe Montana was winning Super
yeah,
Bowls.
yeah, like
Amon's like, y'all remember the NFL championship when the Detroit Lions took home the
Y'all
hardware?
remember the
Look, why do you-
Frost Bowl when they
I don't know why you're
ran it in on
Southern.
the one on ice? Yeah.
why do you think I'm a Cleveland Browns fan? Like I saw Otto Graham and Jim Brown win those. Well, no, Jim Brown didn't win.
Paul Brown was
I
He
saw
literally
Otto
saw
Graham.
that team get moved,
Yes.
yanked from underneath him in the cover of the night.
I saw Marion Motley play. No, I'm not that old.
All right, on to the next
All right.
one.
Yeah, on to the next one. Winners and losers for the week. Our segment where we just talk about, as I just said, who was a winner, who was a loser since the last time we talked to y'all. So, in the last week. Let's go with Dylan. What do you got? Winners and losers for the week.
Well, for my winners, plural, I'm going WWE here, pro wrestling, if you will. I'd like to pick Christian, who made his return to the ring after having to retire in 2014, made a return to the Royal Rumble. Not clear yet if it's a full-time return or anything like that, but he suffered multiple concussions, and it was cool just to see him back in the ring, especially with Edge, his longtime tag team partner. Austin and I used to watch wrestling together growing up in the Attitude Era. Edge and Christian were a staple of the Attitude Era, all those tables, ladders, and chairs matches. So Christian has long time been one of my favorites, one of the best guys, most innovative guys in the ring. And then, of course, Carlito Caribbean Cool made his return also to the ring, looking absolutely massive and jacked. Like he could play some NFL linebacker. I'm sure Vince McMahon backstage was happy on the mic, like, yeah, look how huge he is. So that probably made him very excited, and it was really cool to see those two guys back in the ring. I don't know if it's permanent or anything, but very cool to see them back in a WWE ring. And then my loser, I tried to pick somebody else because I feel like I'm piling on at this point, but it's got to be Jared Goff, right? Like, I know he feels like he posted or it was reported that he said, at least now I'll go somewhere where I'm appreciated. And it just seemed like a scorned lover, right? Him and Sean McVay, like how sour the honeymoon got. Like this was like the ultimate marriage, so innovative together. Todd Gurley in the backfield, doing all these cool things together. And now it's like McVay couldn't wait to get rid of this guy. He announced before the Super Bowl even happened that there was going to be a quarterback competition. I have never seen that before. Before the season was over, he's like, next year, we're going to have a quarterback competition. And then he ships him out of town to the Detroit Lions, NFL purgatory, if you will. So I hope things get better for him, but I'm not so sure. The Lions are obviously in rebuilding mode. So I'm kind of.
You know what it makes me think of when Jared Goff says, at least now I'm somewhere where I'll be appreciated. It makes me think of a bad rom-com sitcom where like the lovers break up and then one of the petty one runs over and grabs some person to make the other jealous. Well, at least they love me. Like, come on, Jared Goff. We all know you are nothing more than like an unfortunate side effect to obtain the draft picks and get rid of Matt Stafford more than Detroit was calling it up. Hey, is Jared Goff available? I've got to have him on my team. A couple draft picks? Yeah, I'll throw him in. I've got a Matthew Stafford, but that Jared Goff, he's really going to do something to this offense. Get real, bud. There's like nothing. No, it was a contract dump. If anything,
I think him saying that was more a shot to Sean McVay than it was yes, I'm so thrilled to be on the Detroit Lions. But at the same time, we were talking about this off the air, Austin. Has any player or quarterback or any position ever gone from like kind of underrated, like Matt Stafford, to one trade happen and all of a sudden they're being blown up by everybody, and now he just seems like pretty overrated in the matter of like a week.
In the matter
like all
of
a sudden, Matt Stafford's on the Rams and they're Super Bowl contenders. Everybody's like, Dan Orlovsky was saying, book it, Super Bowl. They're there. Like,
and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of Stafford. I think that the guy has been in an unfortunate situation to be on such a dysfunctional franchise for so long. But hold the phone, guys. Like, first and foremost, Stafford, he wasn't even necessarily the best fit for Sean McVay's offense. You know what I mean? So I think he does a lot of really good things, and I'm excited to finally see him with some weapons around him and stuff. But haven't we read this book before? Haven't we seen this movie where people start freaking out about, some dynamic, something like this where it's really kind of more of a middle of the road type of, news story or trade or whatever, and then it doesn't pan out to be all that exciting. And yeah, I think Stafford definitely makes the Rams instant NFC West contender or favorites. But Super Bowl, come on, let's
think they're the favorites in the division. I'm not even sure they're the favorites in the division, man.
I think so. Yeah,
the division's tough.
You got to think though, based off of last season, just last season or this last season alone. I mean, they were the fourth best team in the NFC. You know what I mean? They did beat the Seahawks with Jared Goff with a broken
Yeah, but
thumb.
that's assuming that everybody gets the exact same amount of wins and no players leave from any team. No other teams add any additional players. We're going to go through drafts and free agency and all that.
But the problem that we run into is that the Seahawks have 24 free agents and not very much cap space with a cap that's decreasing substantially. So
there's also the Cardinals and the 49ers.
And they have limited draft capital. So you have the Seahawks that are going to have to get incredibly creative, right? We have the 49ers that may or may not make a move, and I understand that. And you've got the Cardinals that, yeah, they're there. Kyler Murray makes them a contender, and they've got a lot of good pieces and stuff. But, I mean, at the end of the day, if we're just going based off of the production that we've seen, the Rams not only beat the Seahawks in the playoffs, but went on to the second round, finished the season fourth in the NFC, and that accounts for something. So I think if you take that exact same team that's not going to lose any of its major core nucleus and you add Matthew Stafford, it at least makes them the favorites of the division. And I could see that. I've got no problem saying that. But Super Bowl favorites, conference championship, we need to pump the brakes because there's still a lot of football to play and a lot of offseason to make before we even start crowning or believing any of that hype.
No, well, before I go into my winners and losers, one, you guys say you grew up watching Edge and Christian, and you sure it wasn't Bruno Sammartino and Nick Bockwinkel like I grew up watching. No, again, I'm not that old.
Haystacks who?
You know what my favorite always is. So and I used to get this all the time when I was younger because I watched wrestling. I wore Stone Cold shirts and the Rock shirts and stuff. I'd always get, just because we were talking about annoying fans, I'd always be a little kid walking through the grocery store with my Stone Cold shirt, and some guy would walk up or whatever. Oh, you like wrestling, huh? How about that Jimmy Superfly Snuka? He's something else, huh?
Yeah, they'd always
wrestled in 30 years. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they do that with a lot of things, dude. Not just wrestling, but sports too. They give you the one person they know, to try to have a full blown conversation with you about it.
Why is
I used to watch that stuff back in the 30s.
Why is everybody in Austin's world Southern or lives on a farm?
Or is it an old person?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
of course.
Where'd you grow up?
Seems the most whimsical to me. That's
in Iowa.
Now the South hates us.
This
now we're not getting any subscribers or followers from the South because of me.
This imaginary fan that annoys Austin, he lives on a farm for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
All
right, Amari, your winners and losers. We got to get out of here at some point tonight.
We do at some point. So my winner, I talked about this last week, and I'm going to talk about it again this week. Winner for the past week is the sport of kickboxing because, as I talked about last week, Glory 77 kickboxing pay-per-view lived up to the hype. Show of the year, obviously early in the year, but it's probably going to be the show of the year. It was really great. Heavyweight champ Rico Verhoeven, who I told you all about, he won the heavyweight tournament. And you know what? I didn't make these comparisons on the air, and I should have, but I made them on Facebook. If you watch boxing, just stick with me for a little bit. Rico Verhoeven is basically one of the Klitschko's with his fight style, giant guy, but technically very sound. He won the heavyweight tournament. Alex Pereira, he won the light heavyweight title. He's knockout artist, but actually in this fight it was a decision, but still a pretty good fight. Cedric Doumbé, basically like the Floyd Mayweather of kickboxing today, he won his title defense by knockout in the second round, as he predicted, like vicious punch, like just one punch knockout. The guy was out like a light. And Tiffany Van Soest, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. She defended her women's bantamweight title. And breakout star, keep an eye out for him, Tariq Kababez. He's basically like Moroccan Rocky. Like this, he's a heavyweight, but like a short dude, and like just looks like an underdog. Like you just never think he's gonna win a fight, but like he's tough, and he won his heavyweight tournament fight. Then he lost to Rico in the final. But anyway, that's my winner. Probably the last time I talk about kickboxing here for a while, because you guys just totally don't care.
This guy just picked an entire sport as his winner.
Right.
Yeah, like the whole sport won. Like, you know, they put on a good show. Like, I'm assuming I'm not the only person that bought the pay-per-view. Maybe I was, but like, yeah, like it's good.
They're splitting $100. Like,
no, I took that the whole
winning and getting the shit kicked out of you is $12.
Well, they got my 25, so you know. Loser, got to go with courtside Karen. If you guys saw that, the Atlanta Hawks fan who, with her husband, was heckling LeBron James during their game. And
have you seen any more report as to like what was said or what was?
Yeah, walk me through that. I don't know the whole story.
So
I saw the video, but I haven't read too much into like how the whole thing started.
Mm-hmm. So she says, because you know, a lot of this came out after the fact. Like I think she went on social media to like explain herself, and she made a couple videos and all that. So she says, I guess her husband was, you know, heckling LeBron. She said something like her husband has a problem with LeBron, which maybe he's one of those fans we talked about earlier. I don't know. So he's sitting courtside, you know, he's talking smack, and you know, LeBron's like, you know, talking back. And I guess she thought LeBron cussed at her husband, and so then she like hops up and's cussing out LeBron. And as they're doing this, she's like, she took her mask off, and you know, you're not supposed to take your mask off if you're going to go to an NBA game this year. And so the refs like stopped the game, and security escorted her and her husband out. I'm assuming more for the mask thing than for the, you know, jawing back and forth with LeBron. And it just blew up on social media. I think like LeBron called her courtside Karen. So that's like, you know, what everyone's calling her now. She went to go defend herself. And one thing that people are kind of jumping on is that she referred to herself as being 25 years old, and like nobody believes that. Like everyone thinks she looks like she's like 40 or something. So
right. She absolutely does. She does not look 25 years
like
old.
like that was like this whole thing. And yeah, it was. And like, yeah, so people are like, they're picking apart the audio
25?
now, and they're trying to, she said she was 25.
Not even like a believable age. No.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I saw a picture of her and her husband, and didn't LeBron call him like old steroid?
Yeah, it was
or something like that.
People were trying to like figure out, you know, did he really cuss at them? And they said that like the only thing they could hear LeBron say, he called him like old steroid ass or something like that. But she said that he told them to like sit the F down, or he called her a B word or something. I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, she's, you know, kind of been the butt of the social media jokes ever since that happened. And then, you know, the some of the videos she made, and kind of like going off on a rant, and like just a bad look. And now she's got that nickname, and that's what people would remember her. I saw her described as an influencer, which I think
how do people not realize that they just look stupider and stupider when they sit there and make those videos?
Yeah.
As we record a video right now. But when they sit there and make those videos, like digging themselves in a bigger hole, you know, like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, here's why I'm the victim, you know, like,
yeah.
It's because she's just trying to cling to the teensy bit of fame that she see that she's getting. So she's got to go on because she knows the video is going to get millions of likes or follows or views or whatever. It's just ridiculous, man. You know what? At the end of the day, I hope that chick is never allowed into another NBA game ever again. Granted, I know that this isn't near as egregious as what Russell Westbrook had to deal with when a fan called him racial slurs, but I just think in general, if you went to a comedy show and you started blabbing your freaking mouth like that and you started running off like that, you know what would happen? Dave Chappelle would kick your ass out and make sure that you never showed up to another show again. You know, Kevin Hart would say, "Get the hell out of here," and make sure that the security wasn't nice about it. I don't know who the hell these people think they are. Just because you're sitting courtside at a basketball game doesn't give you the right to run your mouth or talk crap to guys that are just trying to do their job and entertain the masses. That game is larger than you and the 10 guys that are on that court playing the game. So grow up. I don't even care if that chick really is 25. That is far too old to be sitting there, which she definitely is. And just looked at her picture. But you are far too old to be sitting there running your damn mouth to a player over a goddamn game and then trying to justify it, saying that yeah, LeBron doesn't even know your husband. Well, why would your husband have a problem with LeBron? Why? Because he's a Cavs fan? Grow up and get over it. LeBron doesn't even know who you are. He doesn't even know your name. That's why he called you old steroid ass, because he took one look at you and said, that's probably the easiest thing to make fun of. So that's what I'm going to call you, because otherwise this guy is a nobody to me. So I like to go, and this is, trust me, I've made that mistake. I spent 9 innings giving Milky Cabrera the business at a Mariners game. And I swear to God, it was bad. I should have been thrown out of the game. The fact that I wasn't is mind blowing, but it's just ridiculous. It's so unfair to these guys that like this is what they do for a living, and just because they make a bunch of money doesn't mean that they have to be subjected to that kind of abuse.
Because the fans pay their salaries. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh god.
These are the same people.
Because I pay this little tiny fraction of a percentage of your salary, and so I can talk to you any kind of way.
These are the same people that use that same exact excuse to cops. Oh, you're gonna write me up for speeding? Well, I pay your salary. I'm gonna talk to your boss. How dare you?
Obviously, what happened to Russell Westbrook was bad. Like, do you think that they're gonna start cracking down more on just like, because there's a difference between like being out of line towards an athlete at a game and then just like rooting for the home team and booing the away team, right?
Right.
And then like getting all over him kind of thing. Like LeBron's at the foul line and you like try to make him miss kind of thing.
Right.
Do you think you crack down more on that kind of thing, especially when there's, because I think if this was a normal NBA season where there wasn't like 10 people watching, like maybe this wouldn't have been as big a deal because you wouldn't be able to hear it as much in that building, right?
Right.
You think that's gonna like they're gonna crack down on it more?
And I don't think, from what I understand, I don't think this one was about what they said. I think it was the whole like taking the mask off,
the mask thing.
Yeah. Like it's not so much the actual heckling. Because it wasn't on the level of what, from what I've heard, it wasn't on the level of like what happened to Russell Westbrook. And I think LeBron, he said after the game, like he didn't necessarily think they should have been kicked out. And I think he was probably referring to, again, like, the content itself wasn't worthy of getting ejected. So if it was just the mask thing, then I don't think they need to crack down. I mean, I think that they, there seems to be a kind of understandable line of like what's okay to say and what's not, and what will really what's really offensive to say to a player or to say to an athlete. So yeah.
But and I get where you're coming from, Dylan. I do think that that there may come to a point with there being so few fans in the stadium that they just say, like, nope. If you're, you know what I mean, like, we'll turn on a sign that says when you can cheer and when you can't.
Like it's the Tonight Show,
right? I mean, it's just because like of more times than not, it will end up being a bad optic.
And I'm not saying like she shouldn't have been thrown out or anything. I'm just wondering if like that was a factor, there being so few fans, because like, I mean, we've all seen like the clips of like Spike Lee getting into it from the sidelines with players and stuff like that. And like at baseball games, people yelling at the players and everything. And then it all seems like, oh, it's part of the game, obviously within reason kind of thing.
Right. Okay, so my winners and losers, now that we've gotten way off track on a human being that I never wanted to have anything to do with in any way,
Having her
shape,
on the
or
show
form.
next week.
Yeah, right. At this
And then
point, I'm sure
Jordan.
she's taking all bookings, bro. So
Yeah,
it wouldn't
it's going to be
hard.
her as the headliner and then Jordan.
Look,
Right.
she's an influencer, so if we get her on the show, that's good for
Yeah,
us.
we're blowing up.
Yeah.
We very well may. I don't think my soul is worth that much. So, anyways, my winner, I'm taking the cheap out so we can get this show over with. My winner is Tom Brady, 10th Super Bowl,
Hot take.
first year with the with an NFC team, with his team with the Buccaneers back there again. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. The guy stays winning. It is the cheap pick because it's the easiest pick because the dude is just winning year in and year out. 10 of his 21 years, this guy has been in a Super Bowl. The fact that he sits there and says, "Man, this media week is a bit different than the 9 others that I've." I mean, like that's mind blowing. He's talking so casually about something that is typically a once in a lifetime experience for most players, and even then, that's a very select few that even get to experience that.
You think he's bored?
So.
Like doing like all the lead up to the Super Bowl stuff?
Oh, I'm
He's
sure.
like,
It's just second nature to him at this point. Like, oh God, all right, yeah, whatever.
all right. Super Bowl
Yeah.
MVP.
So,
Here's a truck,
and then
whatever.
my loser of the week is the Houston Texans. This Deshaun Watson story has gotten sad. The guy has come out for how many days in a row saying, "Trade me. I don't want to be on this team. I want nothing to do with this coaching staff. I want nothing to do with this front office. I want nothing to do with this team." And whether you believe or not that he's doing the right thing for himself, his career, whatever the case may be, at the end of the day, it's just becoming sad. It's becoming pathetic. You've got like the coach coming out an hour after Deshaun Watson proclaims, like, absolutely trade me. I will not play for this team. And then an hour later, the coach is like, yep, he's our quarterback. That's our guy. That's who we're going into the season with. We have no intentions of getting rid of him in any way, shape, or form. And then Watson comes back the next day. Yeah, I don't care what they say. I will not play for this team. I want nothing to do with them. And then the general manager goes, yep, can't wait to start the old 2021 season with our quarterback, Deshaun Watson. The guy doesn't want to be there, so get rid of him.
Did y'all watch the speaking of Deshaun Watson, y'all watch any of the Pro Bowl, the Madden Pro Bowl?
Yeah, a little bit.
I watched it. It was insanely entertaining.
Marshawn was amazing as always.
Marshawn intercepted the ball and literally broke the chair he was sitting on.
Yes.
He like intercepts it, he breaks the chair, and he picks up the chair and is like, ah! But speaking of Deshaun, everybody looked like they're having a blast, and Deshaun was just sitting there like, like maybe I just imagine he's just checking his phone like every 30 seconds,
just waiting for that text. We got you out of there, buddy.
Did y'all see what Brett Favre said about that, Deshaun Watson?
Kinda. I heard that he made a comment. I didn't see exactly what his comment was.
Something along the lines of like, you're getting paid a lot of money, so just do your job, kind of thing.
Oh yeah. I remember he's catching some heat over that, and I don't agree with that, man. I mean, I'm very pro player, and the reason being is because at the end of the day, if the Texans won 4 games or whatever because Deshaun Watson threw 20 touchdowns and 20 interceptions and only 2,300 yards and had a 56 complete, what would we be talking about? They've got to cut him. They've got to find a way to get rid. Look what we just went through with Jared Goff. You know what I mean? They found every way possible to get out from paying him his contract. And I think that's so unfair. So I don't care if a guy signed the contract yesterday. If he decides that he doesn't want to play there and he has the opportunity to get out of a situation that he's not comfortable being in, or that he feels like he didn't sign up for, or that the team has changed the terms of it. Because I totally agree. I think that as the franchise player, he at least needs to be consulted, or, hey, this is kind of the direction that we're thinking, whatever. And if those are promises made and the team has broken those, then yeah, I've got no problem with it. So I think that whole mantra of you need to shut up and just play the game and play out. You made a commitment. screw that, dude. Like,
And I'll,
get real.
and I'll clarify. Like earlier, I mean, I said that I want
all that was directed at you by the Mara.
I know, yeah, I know.
I'm
That's
kidding.
that's what, and that's why I'm going to come at you right now. No,
Now we're never going to have Deshaun Watson on the show.
I do want them. I guess I'd like to see a scenario where they could patch things up, and maybe this front office coaching staff is not for him. But as we saw, I don't know if y'all saw that clip of JJ Watt talking to him as they were walking off the field, like for their last game. And JJ Watt was just like, look, like, I'm sorry. Like we let you down this year. Like we wasted a year of your prime. I'd like to have, some of his teammates can just talk to him and be like, yo, last year was a mess. Like, we didn't hold up our end of the bargain. You did, like, but we still want you here. We still want to make this work. I think if he can talk to some of those guys, like maybe some vets on the team or guys of the team that he respects, and he can maybe kind of be convinced, like, okay, let me try to make this work. Because like I said, I mean, that's fine that if he doesn't want to be there and like kind of lets that be known, because you shouldn't just shut up and play. But you did kind of on a level make a commitment, not just to the front office, but also to your teammates. And after 1 year of it going off the rails, like, I think if it was a couple of years, like, okay, but I think after 1 year, I would just rather see him be able to kind of work this out. And
here's what I will say:
come back and give it another shot.
At the sake of keeping another team from falling into this pit of misery of absolute dysfunction and anonymity, I wouldn't mind him patching it up with the Texans too. I think having as many quarterbacks, like franchise elite quarterbacks, sprinkled across the league, like, it's good for the league and it's good for football as a whole, because it creates diversity in the of conferences and divisions and who's good, who's not, and who's interesting to watch, who's not interesting to watch, et cetera, et cetera. So, seeing, like, if Watson does go to the 49ers, all of a sudden you've got four elite quarterbacks, or at least four franchise quarterbacks, three who, Kyler Murray being in that mix, who very well could be on to that elite franchise too. It just creates like such a log jam in one conference. It just, maybe, these are all guys that I want to see in the playoffs and those kind of things. So, for that sake, yeah. But at the end of the day, the guy, like, is very determined not to be there.
What do you guys think about him? The rumor that he wanted to be in on like the GM pick. I've never heard of an NFL player.
I don't have a problem with that.
Said the same thing.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, because I think if someone's like your franchise guy, I think you should at least get his input and like kind of keep him in the loop and talk to him throughout that process. Not like just pick the guy that he wants, whether that's the coach or the GM or whatever, or draft picks, or don't just, okay, well, Deshaun wants this guy, so we're getting this guy, but keep him informed and just make him know that his opinion's valued, and be like, hey, especially with coach picks, because I think your star player has a pulse of the team, right? He knows all these guys.
I understand the coach pick for sure.
Yeah, I think I have no problem with him having.
Never heard that before.
I don't have a problem with that either. I mean, at least being like, just like, what do you think, Deshaun? Like, what kind of guy do you? What kind of guy? What kind of philosophy do you think we should go with, or whatever? Not just
that simple like consideration, just to like make him feel like he has a voice.
Yeah.
And if that's something, I mean, that's something that Russell Wilson was vocal about in the media, as well as what the team was vocal about allowing for him. When it came to the offensive coordinator. And I get that is a bit different than the GM, but at the end of the day, this is a guy that you're pushing out there in front of all the cameras and saying, hey, you're the face of our franchise. You're the face of this city.
And his legacy,
city.
And his
your reputation, your legacy
is on the his is on the line just as much as theirs. And so at least give him a, hey, I maybe think that this guy might be a better fit, but hey, at the end of the and that's just all it is. Yeah.
Hey, at the end of the day, at least give me an opportunity to speak my piece. And if you don't hire the guy I want, it is what it is. But don't make me feel like I'm left in the dark on the whole thing.
It would be it'll be interesting to see what happens if the Texans decide they're digging their heels in and they don't want to trade him, and then Deshaun, it's like a staring contest at that point,
that's what it becomes.
Show up, they're gonna fine him a whole bunch, kind of thing. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I would assume he would play. I don't think he just skipped the season like a Le'Veon Bell.
Right.
Because he's got a lot of money to lose by
Well,
doing
and quarterback is a bit of a different position where you like, I think it's a lot harder to, with a running back, you have to remember your gaps, you have to remember your powers to your sweeps to, you know what I mean? It's definitely not near as intricate. So you take a whole season off from playing, especially in your prime, and you're that much more year or time removed away from being in front of a playbook and having that stuff fresh and running the plays and having the timing down and all of those things. So
And Le'Veon Bell didn't really bounce back either.
right, yeah. I mean, by no means could you say that he came back and he has even come close to what he was.
Watch
The
him be
guy's a
Super Bowl
backup in
MVP now.
Kansas City, you know.
Yeah. All right. We've been doing this long enough. Austin, take us out of here.
Yeah, my kids are crying. So we got to go, guys. All right. Hey, before we take off, we just all want to say quick little, words of peace. It looks like Marty Schottenheimer has been placed on hospice. So rest in paradise. Love goes out to Brian Schottenheimer, the entire Schottenheimer family. Marty was an absolute legend, a legendary coach.
One of the best coaches in NFL history.
Yeah, the history of the game. So this is a guy who produced some of the best talent, who implemented game plans, scheme plans. The way that the game has been played is heavily affected by Marty Schottenheimer, even today's league. So,
Stay with me, Amar. There's a gleam.
Yeah,
There's
always
a gleam.
sad to see
Yes,
that,
yep.
Yeah, there's a gleam,
like
man.
that.
Yep.
So,
Gotta find the gleam.
Gotta find the gleam. So
well, anyways, but other than that, we are going to get going here from Bring Your A Game. It's your boy Austin, Amar, Dylan, and as always, when you come to this show, you better bring your A game. Peace.